Hey, out there in Ramblin About Racing Nation, Matt Beamer here alongside Charlie Hercus to bring you this episode of Ramblin About Racing. Going to be talking about Michigan. Is Bubba Wallace kicking himself too hard in the rear end? And are we going to see more shakeup here in the championship? Top 16 coming close to the end of the regular season. Let's get into it. This is a production of ITM Media. Yes, we are here live from the ITM Media studio, and for Charlie's case from South Alabama, bring you the latest and greatest from the world of auto racing. Again, Matt Beamer here, Charlie Hercus as always. Austin Reeves couldn't make it. He had some internet issues, and no surprise here. Unfortunately, Preston is not here to enjoy this week's episode of Ramblin' About Racing. But Charlie, man, how's it going? How was your race this past weekend at South Alabama Speedway? It looks like you had a good one there for once.
Yeah, everything's going good down here for the most part. Still going through some transitions, I guess. And race weekend overall was a good weekend. I had a lap car, just did not play in my favor. It cost me the lead. I called it at the wrong part of the corner. I was hoping he'd stay high. He stayed high going into the corner and then dove down. I had to pass him on the outside. It cost me all my momentum. The 3 car was probably 3 or 4 car lengths behind me and called him at the right spot of the corner. Got to keep all his momentum. We split him coming off of 2. I stayed on the outside of the 3 car for, a lap and a half, couple of laps there, eventually giving up the lead. And by all means, probably had the faster car. We're pretty equal there. But as far as the long runs go, definitely had the faster car. The cautions did not fall in my favor. I had a caution with probably 8 to go, and then had a caution with 2 to go. And when that caution fell with 2 to go, that's all she wrote, and I knew it. And I got a good start, but my car just does not launch on the starts. It doesn't matter what we do. It takes about a half a lap to really get going. It's a long run car. It always has been. I need green flag runs, and it doesn't matter what we do. Air pressures, whatever. It is a green flag car, and I needed that race to stay green. And we reel him in, caution come out. Reeled him back in, another caution come out, and that last caution come out, and I knew we had pretty much sewn a second place finish in. But that lap car cost us. I feel like if we could have maintained the lead there, and no matter how the cautions fell, as long as we were in the lead, we could have held the lead. He'd have had to, boot us to get it by us. But it is what it is there.
Well, man, at least you finished the race from 1. 2.
Yeah, it's been a rough couple of races there. Yeah. So at least to finish a race was good, especially maybe put some dirt in some other people's eyes there. I'm sure they were pulling against us, but second place finish, and then the teammate finished 3rd. So good weekend for the team owner Roy there.
It looked like to me that you passed the leader, and then the caution came out, and you had to give back up that spot. What was the deal with that? Did you not pass him, or
I don't know. I thought it for a second there. I may have had him. I'm not sure. Like I gave that car all it had. Like there's not many down there that can hang it on the outside and make it stick like I was making it stick this past weekend. So the preferred line down there is definitely the bottom. Charlie Hercus was letting it all hang out on the outside. So,
well, I mean, at least you finished second, man. A good rebound there. You might not be that far out of the points. What's the updated points championship there look like for you?
I hadn't seen it. They hadn't updated it, and I hadn't tried to do the math myself. So,
okay.
the 3 car put a brand new set of tires on that last race. I had, he had a race newer, I guess. I will say, I sent you the lap times, Mister Consistency here. I don't think I've ever been that consistent. It showed. I'm very happy with where the car at, where the car is at, and where I'm at. So overall, a good weekend, a good showing. That's 2 races in a row that it's just been my race to lose, and I've lost it. So it's nobody's fault but my own, and we'll get there. So, but moving on to you there. Enough about me. How's everything going up there in South Carolina?
Everything's going well here. Carolina, I'm still on FMLA, so I'm not really able to do much here because of the stitches came out, but everything came back clear. There's no sign of anything crazy going on in the larger sample set that they took. So
that's good.
Clear on that end. Other than that, I'm just been on baby duty this whole week, watching the baby while Caroline's at work. We got the mother-in-law coming in this weekend. We're going to be going to the beach, taking Maury for her first time.
Tell her I said hello.
I will. And yeah, you're looking forward to that. So I've just been kind of living the dream over here as far as that, just kind of chilling out here. I go back.
What beach y'all going to?
Probably Folly Beach here in the Charleston area.
We'll be at a beach trip this weekend too. So, well,
come up to Folly Beach.
My mom's already reserved some places down there.
Fair enough. But
Florida this weekend.
We're just doing that. Other than that, I go back to work next Thursday on the 18th. So that would be good to get back to work and get back in the swing of things. I miss work already. I just miss it. So, but other than that, man, nothing else has been really going on here. Just, watching the baby and spending time with Caroline. That's all I could really do right now. Because if I walk around too much on the leg, even though it's not impeding my movement here, it does swell up a little. It does get a little painful. Not painful to the point where I can't walk, but I can feel it.
Just stoved up.
Yeah, it's just still healing from the procedure that I had here the past week or so. So, but yeah, it's almost over with, and I hope everybody else is doing well out there. Watched your race on Saturday. That was a lot of fun, and I'm glad Kelsey was there to record it and live stream it. Thank you for doing that. And yeah,
I will say I envy you a little bit on the job side of it with your hours and stuff because of, I guess that's one thing I missed out with Emma. It was right after she was born. They were calling me, "Hey, when you coming back to work? You coming back Tuesday? Coming back, Wednesday, Thursday? Like, when are you coming back?" And at least with your schedule, you may work, a couple of days on, but you may have a couple of days off or something like that, and you get to spend, all day. So you'll have that, you'll have that fatherly bond for sure, and definitely a lot better baby relationship, I guess, growing up. So enjoy it for sure. Don't take it for granted.
No, I really do.
Don't rush back to work too quick is what I'm saying.
No, I won't. And it was nice for me because, when I was off of work, the fire department didn't even call me. Well, I got updates. I got a little text from my battalion chief and stuff saying, "Hey, how's everything going?"
Yeah.
And it was just simple. All is good. Baby's good. Mom's good. But they never once said, "When you coming back?" Because they knew when I was coming back. So I had a month off. Well, I actually had, I think, a total of a month off because I had COVID before the baby. So yeah, I had a long time off with the baby, but
yeah, I remember that.
And then with this procedure, I used up all the sick time I reaccrued back. So, well, I'm out of sick time now, but it's okay.
So definitely not making the last race of the season.
No, probably. I'm definitely making.
Oh yeah, Talladega.
Talladega is marked on the calendar. We are very excited about that. I'm looking forward to it. I wish I could bring the camper, but I don't think you reserved a camping spot.
Two campgrounds.
2 tent spots, right?
Yep.
Not a camper.
Yep, no 2 tent spots.
Because that would be really nice.
Charlotte, we're about to have so much fun.
Man, Charlotte was fun because you guys just went into the AC and I cooked outside. It was hot. It's like, "You guys going to help me cook?" It's like, "No, we're going to watch football and relax."
I'm bringing the grill with me.
Nice.
I'm bringing a 10x20 canopy with me. I'll probably bring the 10x10 canopy with me as well. Like we're going to be set up. Like,
Well,
we're going to.
Yeah, I'll bring the flagpoles again because we had a good setup there. Everybody was pretty envious of ours. Of course, I think the Confederate flag is going to be staying at home now, given the.
Bring it with you.
Nah, man, I don't want to cause any controversy, man. I don't want to cause any.
The only person that hated it's Bubba Wallace.
Well, we got a lot to talk about with Bubba Wallace this past weekend. In fact, I got because I just got to talk about him. In fact, we'll talk about him right now.
Let's just start with the Cup race.
We'll start because that's the only race I watched all weekend. What's the Cup race?
Yeah, I watched the Xfinity race.
Well, you're going to have to tell me about that, but we're going to talk about Bubba Wallace first. Because Bubba Wallace, to me, I feel like he's kicking himself way too hard in the butt. He's kicking himself way too hard in the butt. And I got this clip I wanted to play for you that you sent me, and I want everybody else to hear it too, but this is his 4th top 10 in a row. This is the Bubba Wallace everybody was expecting to see day one last year when he jumped into 2311. He's finally found that consistency. Now, it's been a month. Hopefully he could keep this up, if not through the end of the regular season, through the playoffs and into 2023. And I think that'll shut a lot of haters up. But Bubba Wallace, to me, has proved himself kind of he's his own worst critic. For some reason, he was kicking himself so hard in the rear end for finishing second on what was a consistent day, started on the pole and finishing second. It's not a bad day for any driver in any series, in any division, around the country, around the world. Now, do you think Bubba Wallace is kicking himself too hard? Because for me, I think
let's get your side of it, then I'll give you my side of it.
Okay, I'll give you my side of it first because
let's listen to it. Then you can give you your side of it. Then you can have my side of it.
Yeah, I'll bring it up here.
I think my side of it's probably going to be the exact opposite of your side of it from the sounds of it.
Because to me, I feel like he's just kicking himself way too hard in the rear end. He's proved himself now, I feel, to be a decent driver. And I don't know what it was, whether it was a pit crew change. I don't know whether it was anything else that had to do with anything that happened in 2311 that we're not attributed to. But to me, he's proved himself to be a consistent driver over this past month, finishing top 5s, top 10s in 4 races. I think he's just kicking himself way too hard in the rear end. And you sent us this on the group chat. Mm-hmm. I want everybody to hear it because I think he's kicking himself way too hard in the rear end. So we're going to listen to this. This is a clip from the final lap, Bubba Wallace's spotter or scanner at Michigan. And I just want everybody to hear this real quick.
10 back, no pressure. Sorry, I failed y'all. Oh man, you're good. Keep going. Who knows? One more lap. Absolute failure. Shut up. Come to the checker. P2 run. I don't care what you think. That's a hell of a weekend. Through the line here. Checker play. Yeah, man. Hell of a job. We only get better. Hell of a job. All right, I'll come see you. Great job, man. Great job. Great job, Chris. Way to stay in it all day.
To me, that right there, that just says that everything that I need to know about Bubba Wallace right now. I don't know whether he's putting too much pressure on himself. Post-race interview, he was clearly emotional, saying we should have had it, but he got beat by a good veteran who's been racing over 21 years in the Cup Series, and he didn't win, but he finished second, and he's shut me up. He's starting to show me like what I expected. I know in the past on this show, I've been very critical of Bubba Wallace's on-track performance, but now seeing this shift, this is what I want to see from Bubba Wallace. This is what I've wanted to see from Bubba Wallace since he broke into the Cup Series a few years ago. So him kicking himself too hard in the rear end, and his crew is right. Hey, shut up. Anything could happen on the final lap. I've seen it on several occasions. As I'm sure you have, Charlie, as I'm sure a lot of fans of our show have, if they've been watching auto racing for a long enough time. You never know what's going to happen on the final lap. I've seen Bill Elliott cut down the tire on the final lap at Homestead, I believe in 2003, 2002, and Bobby Labonte won the race.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Kyle Larson cut a tire down at Pocono last year or something like that.
And he lost the race on the final lap. So anything can happen on the final lap. And the fact that he's kicking himself, him being Bubba Wallace, is kicking himself so hard in the rear end, I don't like. I want to see Bubba Wallace have a better outlook on racing. And, I mean, if he doesn't win, he doesn't win. I mean, you take any sport, any team, any situation, and baseball teams want to win the World Series. Football teams want to win the Super Bowl. Hockey teams want to win the Stanley Cup. Everybody wants to win everywhere they go. Nobody wants to finish second. Nobody wants to be the first loser. And Bubba Wallace, and I'm sure just like everybody else in the field, doesn't like to lose. But I mean, do you really think? I mean, I think he's kicking himself too hard in the rear end. I want to know what you think. I want to know what everybody else think that's watching here on the live stream right now. And by all means, later on, when you listen to this on your regular podcast platform, use hashtag what you think ITM to let us know what you think about this situation. But what do you think, Charlie?
I'm gonna pull a Matthew Beamer and play devil's advocate here. I'm gonna say, yeah, he's been running a lot better, but he hasn't been getting the publicity that he's normally been getting. So let's be hard on ourselves and let's face it. That's all they played. They ain't said a whole lot about Kevin Harvick winning a race. As a matter of fact, I pulled up the NASCAR app just a second ago. You want to know what the first thing that was on there?
What was that?
Bubba Wallace's interview. What nothing to do about Kevin Harvick winning the race and securing a spot in the playoffs, and the fact that he's been on like a 2-year drought.
Well, yeah, he has been on a 2-year drought. His last win, this being Kevin Harvick, was Bristol of 2020, and I was at that race, and I didn't think that was the last time. And once they said that, I was like, "Whoa, holy cow! That's his last win."
So I see it both ways. I see, yes, he's being hard on himself. Everybody says Chase Elliott's hard on himself too, but nobody says anything about that. And he is. He's hard on himself. I said the same thing my last race. I was like, you know what? That's my fault. I should have did something a little bit different when it comes to that lap car. It shoulda, coulda, woulda. But second place is still second place, especially, it's still momentum going into these last couple of races. Now, granted, he ain't the best road course racer. So, let's carry as much momentum as we can going into Watkins Glen because your team's going to need it.
Yeah, but he's a good plate racer, and Daytona's coming up.
Correct. I mean, so
that's a whole wide field.
So let's keep a positive attitude, and maybe that's where the crew chief and the team was like, "Hey, shut the hell up! Like quit, quit being Debbie Downer here." But at the same time, you can only do so much with, and I hate to say it, you can only do so much with somebody who's used to having a spotlight on them.
Do you think it's more the spotlight, or do you think it's more of him just having this high expectation of himself? Or I don't even think it's outside influence. I don't think Denny Hamlin.
I hate to tell you, everybody out there thinks they're at the top tier, okay?
Right.
Of their respected style of motorsport racing. So they expect more of themselves every race, especially when you're in a, Gibbs equipment. Or we're not saying somebody like, and I hate to use Corey LaJoie as an example, but he's not in a top level equipment week in and week out. Now, if we use Michael McDowell for an example, Michael McDowell has had a stellar year compared to years past. Yes. Has he won Daytona 500? Sure. What has he done since then? Absolutely nothing up until this year. I say this year, when we talk about Michael McDowell, this year completely shadows his Daytona 500 victory. This year, his 500 victory is nothing compared to the year he has had as a whole, because of the next gen car and all this kind of stuff. He has put together a good, I'm not going to say flawless season, but a solid season. So everybody out there is there week in and week out to do their absolute best. Now, could Bubba maybe have done, and maybe, gotten a little closer to Harvick. If it wasn't for maybe Joey Logano's bonehead move, sure. But I hate to tell you, Harvick had checked out. Like, he was gone. So I just don't think there was anybody going to run Harvick back down regardless of what anybody was going to do. So,
yeah, and everybody was on Twitter was bashing Kevin Harvick about his boneheaded move, or not Kevin Harvick, but Joey Logano about his boneheaded move there. I didn't see Logano do anything wrong, to be honest with you.
No, and I mean, and you know, because we could go right back to what Christopher Bell was trying to do to Chastain, and
right,
you know, Christopher Bell did do something stupid though because he wasn't clear. Now,
yep, he did.
Logano was clear, and it held him up, and it let Harvick stretch his lead out. So, but at this point, Logano made a decision to say, hey, I got nothing for Harvick. I'm trying to finish second, get these, you know, this one extra, this one extra point, whatever. This, you know, this one place finish better. So at that point, you're racing for position, not racing for a win. I guess is the best way to say it.
Right. And I mean, the only thing that would have helped out Bubba Wallace in that whole situation was
a caution
come out.
Yep.
And I was expecting one. I was expecting a caution.
No, I done quit getting my hopes up about these late race cautions because too many times we done text each other in the group chat being like, yeah, they going to be a caution. No, nope. They ain't.
Well,
no. Nope.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick did exactly what he needed to do to win, locked himself in the playoffs, which switches us to this one. The playoffs. After following Michigan, I really think we're going to see more than 16 winners this season. Richmond's coming up. We got a road course coming up, and we got Daytona coming up. I think we're going to probably see a different.
I keep forgetting about Richmond. I keep forgetting about Richmond. I really do. I keep forgetting there's 3 races left.
There's 3 races left in regular season: Richmond, Watkins Glen, and Daytona. I think all 3 of those you could say are wild cards, especially Daytona and Watkins Glen. I think really anybody could bump on up and take a win away. Even like an AJ Allmendinger who isn't racing for points could still win, take a win away and take that off the plate at a Watkins Glen. We've seen it before last year at the Indianapolis road course where he won the race, wasn't secured in the playoffs because he's not competing for a playoff berth in this Cup Series season, to my knowledge, but we could see that. I think we're going to see, and we talked about this at the end of last week's show, we're going to see more than 16 winners. And I think with Kevin Harvick winning, bumping Martin Truex Jr. out of the playoffs, I think you're going to see it come down to points. And if Truex doesn't win, or if he does win, and there are more than 16 winners, Martin Truex Jr. sneaks himself in there because he's second, third in the regular season standings without the playoffs. I mean, he's got the points. He just needs that win.
Yeah, I see Truex possibly being decent at Richmond only because Denny Hamlin was real strong there earlier this year. So Gibbs, has showed speed there because they won the spring race with Denny Hamlin winning that race. So it's possible there. Truex has showed plenty of speed before, and the fact that he is a good Watkins Glen racer. So I like his chances there. Right now, with Ryan Blaney not showing or having a good showing at Michigan, I don't like his chances right now. I don't because I don't like Ford's overall speed on super speedways right now. So as far as Penske goes, I'll say that because the only they didn't to my knowledge, I don't remember them having a good showing at Talladega. Yeah, Austin Cindric won the Daytona 500, but I know Ryan Blaney was up there, but Ryan Blaney just hasn't been a mirror of consistency lately, and I don't see him getting it done at Watkins Glen. I don't see him getting done at Richmond. His only hope is Daytona at this point. And we all know anything can happen there. And I see Martin Truex Jr. possibly getting it done at either Richmond or Watkins Glen. So, but I can also see any of, a lot of the other Chevrolet camps getting it done at either of those two tracks as well, especially Watkins Glen.
I think it's going to be a tough sell for Ryan Blaney to lock himself in the championship unless he just has unless we have repeat winners. So
there's too many good people outside the top 16.
Yeah, there are.
And man, I saw when I tuned into the race at one point in time, because I had turned it off and I turned it back on. I saw Keselowski sitting first because he didn't pay. I said, "Holy crap, what's going on?" And I realized it was, caution or something like that. I can't remember exactly. I was like, "Oh, dear Jesus, will this change stuff up?"
Oh yeah, and once Kevin Harvick won, that changed everything up. With 3 races to go, Richmond, Watkins Glen, and Daytona, I really think we're going to see something like this play off. And this is just a prediction early on here. This is my race picks, but this is my prediction. We're going to see
I won't pull the points up too and tell you what
I think at Richmond, we're going to see like a Denny Hamlin win again, sweep the season on that. We're going to see at Watkins Glen maybe a Trackhouse Racing driver such as Chastain or Daniel Suarez win, or maybe a Chase Elliott win again. At Daytona, I can't even predict to tell you. I mean, Harrison Burton could win Daytona and lock himself into the playoffs and bump Ryan Blaney out. There's just so many possibilities coming up here towards the end of this regular season, which is an unprecedented thing. We've never been in this situation before. We've always had 5, 6 spots open. It's like, okay, now we're racing for points here to go into the championship. But now that Kevin Harvick won, there's only really 1 spot open.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be the Ryan Blaney spot. If Ryan Blaney doesn't do well, or unless we just see 3 repeat winners from now until Daytona coming up here, Ryan Blaney, like to your point, is in trouble. He's in trouble of losing that playoff spot, and he's been running consistently well enough to where in the regular season championship right now, if playoffs weren't a factor, he's sitting second behind Chase Elliott. And though Chase Elliott is leading by 119 points, it won't matter here going into Darlington for Labor Day weekend for the 500.
Yeah. So, Matt, I honestly could see, it's tough. So I don't see the only person I see sitting on the outside winning at Richmond is the outside looking in. Winning at Richmond is Martin Truex Jr. But come road course weekend, I could see a Chris Buescher possibly winning, locking himself in. If everything plays out right, Keselowski could possibly win that race, depending. He hasn't showed the strengths this year, so it'd be a long shot for sure. Chris Buescher, however, has showed some road course strength this year. So then we go into Daytona.
And the only and out of in the top 30 that is not locked into the playoffs, Eric Almirola has a win at Daytona. Austin Dillon has a win at Daytona.
Yep.
Keselowski has a win at Daytona. McDowell. I think Stenhouse, if I'm not mistaken, or is that Talladega?
That's Talladega, I believe.
But a plate race nonetheless.
Yep.
I mean, anybody there within from 17th all the way down to 30th has a shot to win at Daytona. And I mean, even from 1st to 30th has a shot to win at Daytona because we've seen Logano win at Daytona, Hamlin win at Daytona.
Hey, and don't think for a second if if none of these guys right here aren't building a Daytona car like freaking crazy, like they're planning for the 500 right now, then y'all are dead wrong.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on the outside looking in right now, if you're from 17th to 30th, I'm talking.
You're building a Daytona 500 car.
As surprising as it is, Truex, Jones, Almirola, Wallace, Dillon, all the way down to Ty Dillon, Todd Gilliland, he's in the playoff picture, and Keselowski, Harrison Burton in them. You're focused on Daytona. That's my only shot at getting in. Yeah, you're looking at Richmond and Watkins Glen too, because you want to keep yourself in the top 30 in points.
Yep.
But man, you're looking at that Daytona race. You got that circle saying this is a checkers or records race. If I had a chance, I'd be going down to Daytona buying a ticket right now, because that's going to be a wild race from the drop of the green flag all the way to lap 60. I dare say even lap 160.
Yeah, I can promise you those two RFK, the 6 and the 17, are building Daytona 500 cars right now for that.
We saw them strong at the duels. They raced.
They won both the duels.
They won both the duels. However, I mean, just after that, they just didn't do well. Keselowski is definitely one of my favorites to win Daytona.
Yeah. And I would say Stenhouse.
Stenhouse is good.
And as bad as I hate to admit this, Wallace would be one of the favorites to win it if he doesn't take himself out of it.
Or he doesn't get caught up in a wreck, just like everybody else. I mean, Wallace is a good restrictor plate driver.
Same way with Eric Almirola and Eric Jones.
Harrison Burton has yet to prove himself on a restrictor plate track or any track, in my opinion.
Yeah, in this car, yeah.
But Eric Jones, I mean, if you're not ready for Daytona, I'm talking as a race fan now. If you're not ready for Daytona and looking forward to Daytona, I don't know what else we could do or NASCAR could do this season to make you excited for this, because it is going to be an exciting race. I think Richmond's going to be exciting. I think Watkins Glen is going to be exciting. And I think Daytona is going to be exciting. These next 3 races here are going to be the races of the season, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
And I'm looking forward to it. And then even then, when the playoffs start right there at Darlington, unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it to the Labor Day weekend for the first time in 3-4 years, baby. And it was either Darlington or Talladega. So I'll pick Talladega on that.
There you go. All day, especially when you get to hang out with your friends.
Well, I tell you what, next year you guys come up to Darlington.
Deal.
500. I mean, that race right there to me, the Southern 500 and Darlington in general, is my home racetrack now, and I'm glad it is. I love Darlington. Love it so much. But overall, what do you think about the race at Michigan for the Cup Series? That's all I'm going to be talking about. We'll talk about the Xfinity Series.
I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was better than what it was going to be, because I was honestly, going into it, I thought it was going to be one of those hold it wide open, don't let off all the way around the track style races.
The low downforce, high horsepower, the high downforce, low horsepower
packages. Yeah. And that's what I was expecting, but you could clearly hear them having to let off, hit their marks, get back into the throttle. So I enjoyed it.
It was a really good race weekend, or race for me, for Sunday. Saturday I was busy. Friday I was busy. I didn't really get to watch really anything but the Cup race. And the Cup race to me was what it was back in the early 2000s. Yeah, if you were out front, like say Kevin Harvick was there at the end of the race, he left the field. He straight away the field. 4-second lead on Wallace. Wallace had some chances to catch him, but like we said earlier in the show, if a caution didn't come out, Wallace wasn't going to catch Kevin Harvick. Harvick was on a rail, and he gone to win. And Harvick, the closer at Michigan, and the crafty veteran that he is, pulled it off, and good on him. I'm glad glad Kevin Harvick won and secured himself in the championship, in the playoff picture. Now, in the race overall was great. I saw great pit stops all day. 9-second pit stops. I mean, I never thought I'd see that in the Cup Series, but the single lug nut has definitely made pit stops a more pressure. And I want to ask you this, Charlie. I saw 9.5 second pit stops this past weekend at Daytona. With the single lug nut, has that made pit stops more important? I mean, I get it that we'd like to see the 5 off, 5 on. I know I'd like to see it in the Truck Series. I'd like to see it in the Xfinity. But the single lug nut, has that made pit stops more of important? Because now we're seeing 9-second pit stops on pit road where, I mean, we thought a few years ago, 11-second pit stops. Like, they're not going to get any faster than 11. But now you see 11-second pit stops. What happened? Something happened. So, I mean, did that single lug nut make pit road more exciting and more pressure on the pit crews than the 5 off, 5 on?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because some teams have figured it out and some teams haven't, because some teams are still doing 13-second stops. So that extra 2 seconds is killer, very crucial. So,
yeah.
Now, granted, some of these teams are doing 11-second stops and not getting full of fuel. So
seeing it now more where the fuel we're instead of waiting on the tires, they're waiting on the fuel, and teams have figured that out, because when I saw it with for more so Bubba Wallace, when they dropped the jack, he didn't go. They waited on the fuel, and we're seeing.
Yep.
And I think
nowadays the jack going down on the left side is not the cue. You're waiting on the crew chief to tell you, all right, go. Because we're waiting on the fuel guy to say, time to go.
And I think more relevant in the 2+ mile super speedways like in Michigan or California. You're not going to really see that at Richmond. You're not going to see that, I believe, at Watkins Glen. You might see that at Watkins Glen, but you definitely won't see that at Daytona, I feel like you're going to see the normal drop the jack go at Daytona, and that's it. But I mean, at places like Michigan where, they turned into kind of a fuel mileage race. I hate to say that because I haven't seen a fuel mileage race since the implication of stage racing here a few years ago. But I mean, I think fuel was a premium. Fuel was definitely the top priority vice. Once the tires were on, we need to make sure it's full of fuel in order to make it to the end. And I'm sure the crew chiefs were thinking, what if there's a green light checkered? So, but yeah, I mean, overall, the race weekend for me was outstanding. I couldn't have asked for a better race at
Michigan. Yeah, Michigan wasn't let down. It really wasn't. Even talking about the Xfinity race.
Yeah, how was the race? Ty Gibbs won the Xfinity race. I saw that, but
even it wasn't a letdown. Unfortunately, Gibbs was not my pick. Once he did get out front, though, he managed to hold his lead and go on to win the race. I was hoping for a late race caution because I don't feel like he had the car to win. He just, had the car that once he got out front, he was able to maintain the lead. So overall, it was a good race. I wouldn't say it was the race of the weekend by no far, because the Cup Series race, I felt like overall was definitely a better race. We finished watching the Xfinity race once we got down to the track Saturday and got unloaded and set up for my race. So, but not a horrible race. I'm waiting for the Truck Series to come back, because if it's anything like, if Truck Series can pick up anywhere, like they left off at Indy, then that'd be a great race.
Well, and speaking of Ty Gibbs, finishing 10th in the Cup Series race at Michigan, we've dogged this. We've dogged this.
I hate to say it. I hate to knock him. I mean,
is this guy? I mean, we talked about it earlier on that Ty Gibbs the next big thing in NASCAR. We talked about it earlier on, I think, in this season when he came out of the gate just strong there for Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series. Now that he has the opportunity to race in the Cup Series for Kurt Busch, who is still injured, hopefully hey, Emma, I see you there. Hopefully he can come up there and, Kurt Busch can come back here at Richmond and start racing again. I'd like to see that happen. But hey, Emma, Are we to see? Are we to say that? I mean, that Ty Gibbs is the real deal, and is he going to be moved up to the Cup Series next year?
She had to tell the dog to go off real quick.
The product of live broadcasting here.
Absolutely.
So my daughter
anyways,
I mean, Ty Gibbs, next big thing or not? I mean, is he going to be bumped up to the Cup Series in 2023?
With Kyle Busch not being re-signed yet, and unfortunately, I don't see him being re-signed with Gibbs. Thanks for slamming the door, Emma. But
we'll edit it in post during the regular podcast.
Anyway, if it ain't for a squeaky chair on my end, it's my daughter shutting the door. But anyway, with Kyle Busch not being re-signed, who else are they going to bring up? And I hate to knock the kid. I really do. But, man, if he would just eat a huge slice of humble pie and maybe I think he just rubbed a lot of it. It's not the fact that he had a ginormous, like horseshoe-sized silver spoon shoved straight up his a-hole. I think it's the fact that he was just cocky. He's just arrogant. And he gave off that, to me, just kind of gave off that demeanor, that persona, so to speak. And that's why I just didn't. He kind of like Austin, Nobody really likes Austin. I deal with him just because
we're talking about Austin Dillon, I'm sure.
All the Austins in the world, the
Austin.
It is what it is. Anyway, but just. I feel like if he just eat a huge slice of humble pie, and like I've come to like Kyle Busch a little more nowadays than what I used to like him, just because he's kind of mellowed out.
I feel you. I feel you on that because Kyle Busch, to me, back in the
man, it was bad.
You had to, nobody liked Kyle Busch. If you like Kyle Busch, you were the renegade, kind of like back in the same time frame. I like Jimmy Johnson. And I would walk by his trailer and everybody would just say, Jimmy Johnson sucks. Well, no, he doesn't. And people would walk by Kyle Busch trailer.
And it wasn't a suck from a lack of talent aspect.
Probably
it was a suck from you're a horrible person.
No, but but Kyle Busch did throw on that persona. And yes, for the first few episodes here for this season, we were saying, man, this guy's got to straighten up. This guy's got to do this. But now that he's coming to the Cup Series for an injured driver and Kurt Busch, a champion, Daytona 500 champion, 2004 Cup Series champion. I mean, is Ty Gibbs ready to take the reins? I think he's shown with this top 10 finish that this could definitely be a chance for him to move up there. Because even Brad Doherty said it. We said it on last week's or a couple weeks ago, I think, when Ty Gibbs came on. We said it. Dale Earnhardt Jr. said it on his podcast, and now Brad Doherty said it. That learning curve is only going to get steeper and steeper. But if you keep Ty Gibbs in there, that learning curve is not going to be much, and he's going to be competitive in 2023.
I guess I could see that.
Yeah, well, I think that's the way it is. That's the only way he's going to go because Ty Gibbs has nowhere to go but up. And the Cup Series is the pinnacle where every driver wants to be yourself. Everybody there at South Alabama Speedway, everybody in the Xfinity Series, everybody in the Truck Series wants to be in the Cup Series. And now we're seeing Ty Gibbs not only knocking on the door.
I just want to be the Super Late Mama, not even in the Cup Series. I couldn't care less about Cup Series.
Yeah, but now Cup Series, I mean, Ty Gibbs is there, and I think he's in 2311 equipment, nonetheless. 2311.
I'd settle with a modified.
I'd settle with anything but iRacing. I'd go-kart. I'd race go-karts.
I'd settle with a sponsored iRacing rig. Who are we kidding here? I mean, if you sponsored iRacing setup and I got paid to sit at the house and do that, I mean,
It's true. It's true. But I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
we're
let's
seeing
not be selfish here, Matthew.
no, let's not. But I mean, Ty Gibbs, I think he's going to be the next big thing coming up to the Cup Series. He's going to be challenging the established drivers. I mean, however long Kevin Harvick's there, he's going to be challenging the Denny Hamlins, the Martin Truex Jr.'s, the Ryan Blaney's, the Chase Elliott's. He's going to be challenging all those guys. Kyle Larson's, but he's going to be challenging all those guys here. And I think he does come up to 2023. I think we're going to have to wait maybe towards halfway through the playoffs in order to start saying who goes where and what's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think he goes to an affiliate of Gibbs, though. I think if he goes anywhere, he goes to Gibbs.
Because we haven't even heard anything about Kyle Busch re-signing, although they're talking and it looks promising. But no, I don't see it. I see.
Are they talking or are they just saying that?
I don't think they'd say that just to say that, unless they want to play their cards close to the chest. But I really think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be signed. And that being Kyle Busch, be re-signed to Joe Gibbs Racing for 2023.
I just don't see them re-signing Truex before they re-sign Kyle Busch.
I think Kyle Busch is going to be going to Stewart-Haas Racing. I really do. I think Busch to Truex, Busch to 20.
Yeah, but with what sponsors?
Eric Almirola is retiring. Smithfield.
Who says Smithfield wasn't there just because of Almirola?
I think they'd be there for Kyle Busch just as well as they are with Almirola. I really do. I
know Stewart-Haas has made the comment before. Hey, I'll fund a fourth Cup team, but that was before he was forking over millions for an F1 team.
I see Cole Custer not re-signing. I don't know how long his contract's good through.
Yeah, he hadn't really performed.
I don't see Cole Custer running well much longer. And
I think Stewart-Haas would be a better 3-car team. Let's face it. They could focus more money towards 3 cars.
And I mean, Tracy said this comment. He's late to the show, but what's up, Tracy? How's it going? And Smithfield's there because Eric brought him from Petty. Good point. It's a very good point there. But who's to say they won't?
Yeah, I mean, so Smithfield is with Eric. So unless they could do something there, who says Smithfield's going to stay with?
Yeah, I mean, true. We got a lot of moving parts until Daytona 500 2023 starts. I feel we there's a lot to cover still, even this late in the season. But I mean, still the season doesn't pick up. I feel until halfway through the playoffs.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, that was pretty much it. That was the races we talked heavy on the Cup race because that's all I watched. I mean, talked about Bubba Wallace. Anything from this past weekend that you saw that you could bring up, Charlie? Because to me, I mean, that was pretty much it. Harvick winning the points shake up. Bubba Wallace kicking himself too hard in the rear end. That was it. And now we got Richmond coming up here for the Cup and Truck Series. Xfinity Series is off this weekend. They'll be at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, the trucks will be off.
No, trucks are going to be racing at Richmond. The Xfinity's off.
Yeah, I'm talking about at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, trucks are off at Watkins Glen, but upcoming races, we'll go ahead and read them off to you right now. The Richmond Truck Series race from FS1 will be Saturday, August 13th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on FS1. Sunday, August 14th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on USA will be the Richmond race. I'm going to bring it up here real quick to make sure there's not an Indy Car race. Formula One is off this weekend.
Yeah, I got a couple weeks off, so.
And let me just make sure here. I know we're live, and I should have done this before the show, but
I should have did it already too. I knew F1 was off, so.
And let's see here. August 20th is the next.
So they got another week off.
And August 20th is the Indy Car race. So it's just going to be NASCAR this weekend.
Yep.
But who are your picks to win the Truck Series and the Cup Series race from Richmond there, Charlie?
If KFB takes off a year and goes into business. with Dale Jr. in 2024 and goes to Junior Motorsports and Cup with Martin Truex.
That's interesting. Let's read this again. This is from Tracy, one of
so hear me out. If KFB
if Kyle Busch takes off a year, goes into business with Dale Jr.
in 2024 and goes to Junior Motorsports and Cup with Martin Truex. Yeah, because Truex only signed a year contract.
Yeah, and Dale Jr. There have been whispers about Dale Jr. going up to the Cup Series.
Yeah, there has. But then we go right back to charters. Unless the charter system goes away, where is he going to acquire these charters from? It's not. I hate to tell y'all, but it's not going to be Richard Childress, because Richard Childress is not going to can his grandson, and he's not going to hand the business over to Dale Jr. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, well, I understand that, because, I mean,
and what Tracy
Junior gave Truex his start. He gave Eric Almirola his start. He gave Keselowski his start. I mean, we can go on and on. So
Tracy said, and this is Tracy from Darlington from the previous episode from last year. I met him last year. Tracy heard it was going to be Kaulig charters that he was going to get. I don't know if Kaulig would give up a Cup Series charter. They're running well in the Cup Series. I feel they're going to have a couple of years to develop, but I feel like Kaulig Racing is going to be a powerhouse team up there with the likes of 2311 and Trackhouse Racing here in the next couple of years.
The only way I see this happens, I guess, is if the charter system goes away. And I guess I could see that happening with as competitive as this next gen car has been, and you see the lower teams running up front consistently, I guess, and being a little more competitive than normal. I guess you could see saying, hey, you know what? Instead of the charter teams, and maybe these other teams don't want to just show up and say, hey, why are we going to show up? Because we're not even guaranteed, a spot like all these other teams, So maybe they say, hey, let's trash the charters.
The only way I see NASCAR getting rid of the charters is if they go to the teams and the team comes in and says, we want to race this race, like say Daytona or Atlanta, you name whatever they want to race, is that they say they put in a no start in park rule. Like you can't start in park. If you only have one set of tires, you run it until that one set of tires goes out and then you park it.
Yeah, because you don't have to buy a certain amount of tires. You can buy a certain amount of tires, but you can also buy fewer.
Right. And that's the only way I could see NASCAR getting rid of the charter system. They did to get rid of the starting park. They wanted people to show up and race and not take away spots from anybody else who would say, yeah, I want to race the full race, regardless if I go 15 laps down, whatever.
Yeah, I see where the charter system came into play, but now you only have the charters.
Now you only have 36 cars on track, where they took it from a 43 car field down to 40 car field because, well, we're nobody's showing up. It's because of the charter system.
But with this car, it's kind of changed the playing field, because let's face it, when's the last time we've had 15 different winners in a season? When was it?
Can't even tell you.
It's been a long time.
Yep, and I could see that. I could definitely see that happening. I could see them getting rid of the charter system, or at least rethinking the charter system for
maybe not this coming year, but at least 2024.
Yeah, I could see that. But hey, Cup winners for the truck and Cup race coming up here at Richmond, Charlie.
Oh man, who Cup race at Richmond? You know what? Gibbs, Truex gets it done. He's their 16th winner. He locks himself in. He boots Ryan Blaney out. Truex has not been a short track person until past couple of years, but I think he shows up saying, "Hey, I'm here. We're not going anywhere. We re-signed a contract that's behind us. We're here. We're here this year. We're here next year. So Truex gets it done this weekend. If nothing else, he jumps Blaney into points. So because there's only a 19 points difference. So
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
So if nothing else, he jumps Blaney into points. But I say Truex wins, locks himself in. Blaney's on the outside looking in, has to win either at Watkins Glen or Daytona to lock himself in. But as far as Truck Series, Zane Smith gets it done at Richmond, moves on to the next round.
All right, for the Truck Series, John Hunter Nemechek.
That's who I started to go with. But I said, no, he doesn't get it done. Zane Smith gets it done.
I think John Hunter Nemechek gets it done. And I'm going to have to still stick in the top 16 here. Kyle Larson is going to win and back up because he hasn't been running well lately. But I think Kyle Larson starts getting wind back in the sails before the playoffs start here at Darlington.
I could see that. I think Hendrick as a whole, has not performed the last couple of races other than maybe Elliott. But I feel like, hey, look, our guys are locked in points-wise and everything for the most part, with an exception of maybe Bowman. And
Bowman's locked in. He's got a win, but I mean, right there at 16th.
Correct. So, hey, if Ryan Blaney locked himself in, he'd be right there at the cut line. So, I feel like with an exception of Bowman, let's try a couple things. Let's tweak something here. So, but you know what? Larson may show out this weekend. So
yeah, I think Larson gets it done here this weekend at Richmond. Charlie, anything else before we get into this week's final thoughts, our fantasy standings, and this week in NASCAR?
No, I'm good, buddy. Let's jump on into it.
All right, bud.
White flag. White flag. White flag. White flag. White flag. 1 lap to go. 1 lap right here.
All right, final thoughts this week on Ramblin' About Racing. Hope you've enjoyed it, whether you've been on your regular podcast platform or on B.U.R.N.s Radio, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch. Really do appreciate everybody showing up, listening to the episode, participating in the episode, and really do appreciate it and enjoy doing this. And sorry, Austin and Preston couldn't make it. It's been a while since we've only had 2 people.
It's been a long time since at least Austin hadn't been able to be here either. So,
and that's just internet issues. I think he'll be back next week. I think he'll figure it out by next week. He
says internet. I'm pretty sure it's his wife.
Oh, I'm gonna leave that between you.
I'm just kidding.
I don't know if you are, buddy.
Because I've already said, it's something about Austin's. So,
no. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not
going to say anything. That's cool.
I'm not going to say anything to that, buddy.
I'll text him in a minute.
All right, bud. So, fantasy standings following Michigan for Ramblin' About Racing's.
I had a good weekend.
Yeah, I don't know if I did.
I think you did. Hang on. Let's look at Michigan.
Let's look at Michigan.
Because I think you finished second. You did finish second. You had a good weekend.
What? I finished second?
You did. I finished first, but you finished second.
Oh, hey, and Tracy will remember that if we need a fill in, we'll contact you.
Yep, Tracy, we'll definitely remember that. If we need a third person, hey,
he's fun having on the show. He was fun hanging out with at Darlington last year. So, bummer I can't be there this year if you're going to show up. But
our SMR group and our Super Sumo had a poor showing. This past weekend, and Matt Camper, he boosted it up a little bit at Michigan, but I'm not saying it's too little, too late. But he has dropped a lot. So, but Matt, you finished second this past weekend with 199 points. I did finish on top with 209. So just 10 points ahead of you. But hey, that's one of your better showings this week, or this year in fantasy.
Happy about that. If only I could have done that at the start of the year at Daytona. I think I would have been right there racing against you. But
I feel like I've played my cards right all year because I could literally pick the top 5 in qualifying week in and week out for the remainder of the regular season. Because I at least have like 5 picks left of each person.
Man, I tell you what, though, you got to watch out for Preston coming up here.
Which one's he?
Operations. Preston's operations.
Well, so I did the math a minute ago. I have a 214-point lead on him.
Well, with 13 races to go, though.
Well, it doesn't. It reset. Will it reset a little bit going into
that resets at the playoffs, and there was some special needs thing, but or not special.
Of course, there's special needs.
That's not what I meant.
We are talking about Preston.
There's some special circumstances.
Oh, man.
That's not what I meant. Special.
We'll definitely edit this part out as far as the regular show. Now I know this part's live, but let's keep in mind that the actual host of the show said that.
And Tracy will be at Championship Weekend. Oh, we might get boots on the ground and get a first-hand account for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, so going to fantasy standings this weekend. I'll read off top 8. Smoky Woody is sitting 8th with 3,341 points. Matt is 7th with 3,626 points. S-Blades is 6th with 3,917 points. A little bit of a jump from 7th to 6th. 5th is Matt Camper with 3,923 points. 4th is SMR R&D, 3,931 points. 3rd is Super Sumo 32 with 3,953 points. 2nd, SMR Operations, 3,969 points. And 1st is myself with 4,183 points.
Yeah, don't get too complacent, man. Don't get.
I'm not. Trust me. I am trying to. I have been as strategic as I possibly can throughout this season. Maybe a little too strategic because, like I said, I could literally play the top 5 qualifiers of every race for the last 3 races easily and still have leftovers.
Well, hopefully I can make it into the top 5. My goal is to make it into the top 5 from points. I don't think I'm thinking I'm outside of the realm of.
Well, you're about 300. Well, you're 403 points behind. 497 points behind.
I just need 1st through 6th to have horrible weekends from now until the end, and maybe I'll have
just 2nd through 5th.
Oh, 2nd through 5th. Okay. Well, 2nd through 6th. Let's say.
Yeah, 2nd through 6th.
I don't know.
2nd through 6th. Let's not worry about 1st.
Yeah, we're
going to round that card up to a good, $150 card for next year, and I'm going to keep 50 anyway. Moving on to the next category. This week in NASCAR history.
This week in NASCAR, we go back to August 1996. Jeffrey Bodine ends a 2-year drought by winning on his home track at Watkins Glen. Dale Earnhardt, driving with painful injury, wins the poles and finishes 6th at that race. And that happened this week in NASCAR. August.
That's when he had a broke collarbone, ain't it?
It was in 96. So when did he have the collarbone go out?
You said Watkins Glen?
Yeah, that was Watkins Glen 96.
I'm pretty sure he had a broke collarbone.
Well, hey, still finishing 6th there, man. But yeah, man, fun episode. Thanks again for everybody who tuned in and watched us live. And thanks everybody who listened on our regular podcast platform, B.U.R.N.S Radio, you name it. We're everywhere. We feel like we had good numbers last week. And let's just keep it up. I feel like we're doing fine. We're doing fine. We're almost in the D category of celebrities. We're right there looking at D status.
What's D?
I don't know. We're definitely outside of the A realm. But we're getting there.
You don't know what D is?
No. We're moving on. No. I should have never said that. I knew better. I knew better than to say that, man. But Charlie, man, thanks for showing up here again. Sorry, Austin and Preston couldn't make it this week, and hopefully they'll make it back next week. Just hopefully they'll make it back next week. I really like having both of them on the show. It's kind of a short episode, but a fun episode nonetheless. We talked about
It's
a
been
lot.
a little over an hour, so it's been a pretty good.
Yeah, sometimes the shorter ones aren't the bad ones, but
Yeah, absolutely not.
yeah, Charlie, anything else before we wrap it up here this week?
Nah, man, it's been a good episode. So we'll start. You know, uh, get ready for this coming weekend's races and start getting my car ready for 2 weekends from now.
Yeah, I can't wait for that, man. Good best of luck to
I
you.
got 2 races left, so and points deficit to overcome. So the last race will be a double points race. So we'll see what happens.
I wish you all the best of luck. Remember, the bet is still on. Should you win the championship, you don't have to pay for beer. Just remember that. That's your motivation. I guess that's all the motivation Charlie needs. But Charlie, again, anything else? I think you're good.
Yep, I'm good, buddy.
All right.
I did give my trophy away to a young fan this past weekend. So it was a little girl in the stands. Her mom and dad actually sent me a picture. She was so upset when I wrecked out the race before.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, man! She was so upset. Like she was squalling her eyes out that I wrecked out of that race. And her dad was actually going on a hunting trip. Her dad told me, she's like, he said, "Hey, I got a phone call while I was on that trip." And I was like, "What do you mean you got a phone call?" He's like, "I got a phone call from my daughter." And all I heard was screaming in the background. He wrecked out. And I couldn't understand what she was saying. So I gave her that trophy, and I'm talking about probably made her whole week and everything. They went to eat after the race Saturday night, and she took that trophy into the restaurant with her, set it on the end of the table and everything. So, and not to get all sentimental or whatever, but I've been doing this for a long time. Like I said, the first time I ever got on a track and racing against other people, I was 3 years old. And it's so easy to get caught up and to forget, forget where you come from and the reasons why you do this, week in, week out. And yes, the people in NASCAR and stuff like that do it for a living. And yes, I do it for fun, but I also do it for people looking up to me. And when I seen this smile on this little girl's face, and it's just like when my daughter hugs me after a race. And my daughter wasn't there this past weekend, but when this little girl gave me that hug, and I seen the smile on her face, and me giving her that trophy, it does nothing but remind you of why, your local track guys, at least people like me, I'm not saying all of them, but people like me do things like this. So, support people like that by all means. So go to your local track, and it's not the first time I've done something like that, but little moments like that, they go a long way in a little child's life. And even especially for our sport, because I'm not saying this will ever happen, but I got a text from her mom later on saying she's already saying, "Hey, when I get bigger, I'm gonna race." So it may not ever happen, but it's a thought in the back of her head. So and try not to even tear up and cry now, but it's little moments like that make you a much better person in life and everything. So, and I should have told that story at the beginning of the show, but I guess it's better to save it for the end. So,
absolutely.
But yeah, so win or lose Saturday night, I won at the end of the night because of that little girl and making her night. So,
well, I tell you what, if she does become a race car driver, we'll bring her onto the show and interview her and tell her have her side of the story about that. That'd be great.
Yep, no doubt.
Well, awesome, man. I'm glad you saved that. At least I'm glad you told us about that. But anything else, bud?
No, I'm good, buddy.
All right. Well, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here on this week's episode of Ramblin' About Racing. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you joined us here live on all social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, whether you're listening to us on your regular podcast platform or on B.U.R.N.S Radio, really do appreciate it. Make sure to go to ramblinaboutracing.com to the links to all of our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, you name it, we got it there. Links to our stores, Teespring and Bonfire, will be
go buy some merchandise.
Description or at ramblinaboutracing.com. I'd like to thank our partners for the show, Stand Up to the Cancer and Fanatics, for all they do, not only for B.U.R.N Radio, but for us here at the show. For Charlie Hercus, Check 8384, I'm Matt Beamer, MBeamer22, Preston Lood, P_Luda, and Austin Reeves, Austin_Reeves6 on Twitter. Stay safe and have a good rest of the week.